I played a little game called While Waiting. This is by Optilusion Studios. While Waiting is essentially, I guess you'd call it a puzzle game. The idea behind the game is that you are living out the life of a guy from birth to death, and the way that plays out is in these sort of comic panels that are sort of vignettes of moments of life. And in each of those, to proceed through each of these panels, you really only just need to wait. The panel or the mechanic or whatever of each of these little storybook moments will eventually just run its course without you having to do anything. That would be a pretty boring game. So even though that's the sort of opening sort of pitch, what the game actually needs you to do is tick off a bunch of objectives on the side that pop up per panel, kind of like a Untitled Goose Game, in the idea of a pointless little checklist. So here you can see they are all sort of obtuse in their name and what their actual goal is. And you have to spend the time or the short time you have with each of these panels to possibly discover what those objectives are and get a little sticker for each one by completing them. If you happen to not do any of them, the panel will eventually proceed and you'll get the last sticker, which is just do nothing. Now, that could be your goal, but very often it just turns into, I tried to find how to do any of these puzzles, I ran out of time, I got the do nothing sticker. Which is, in its own way, kind of a nice reward for failing at a puzzle, because you still get a sticker. They start a bit absurd, but Josh, actually, if you wouldn't mind, this one took me a little... It's not a great one to open on, this sort of abstract idea of being born. But from then, you'll get all these little moments in the person's life. And again, all the objectives are really abstract in their naming. So you just have to kind of use your imagination and also just poke and prod at the scene to see what will work and what will actually get you there. At the same time, the only other thing worth mentioning is that little thing in the bottom left corner. You have one button on the controller is just for a random fidget spinner that will come up in the corner. So if you want to just waste time and just let that one play out, you can click a button which will be a fidget spinner or a pen clicking or something else as a sort of, again, they're being playful with the idea of wasting your time. So for a game that sells itself on, you need to just like wait and do nothing, and that's an incredibly boring concept for a game, it actually moves quite fast in the sense that if you want to play with it, which we all do because it's a video game, you will be quickly, frantically trying to work out as many of the things you can do before, in this case, the toast pops up. So some of them are quite simple and silly in this, not silly, I'd say just like humdrum. But then there are some that, as it proceeds, get a little wacky and just in a kind of very charming sense. This isn't, I would say, like a dark humor game. I wouldn't say it's even rude. It's got this beautiful aesthetic, obviously, and a great art style. And it is clever how they use it to direct you towards what can be interacted with and what can't. But they are puzzles. And there is almost a level of, I need to work out how I can get at least a couple of these to feel like I've been successful in each of these little vignettes. The other real positive thing I'll say about it is that these little vignettes are short enough that it's kind of hard to put this one down because you just need to see what's around the corner for each extra little level as you grow up, and I assume go through this whole character's life. Josh, maybe this one again was still pretty quiet, but if you scrub forward, at one point I was in my class waiting for it to end, and when I looked under the desk, it sort of transforms into different areas of the level, and I realized I could play Tetris with all the books in my desk below. And if I lined all the books up, they'd disappear. But again, it was all through discovery, it was all through poking and prodding, and so there were little moments of delight going like, what the hell am I meant to be doing here? Which is offset by going, oh, something actually worked. So I guess as I'm trying to sell it, it's not a strong sales pitch of this is just a time waster, but there's been a lot of thought and a lot of sweet design behind all of it that does have some great little moments of humor in it as well that caught me off guard. And yeah, before I knew it, I was kind of like, thank you, Josh, just like fast forward puzzle. Even Josh can't wait for the clip to be over. But like, I think there's some real imagination on show here and some really cute design that like, yeah, it feels like there's a lot of joy in this one.
It almost feels like a game built to crack the short attention spans that have been built into children these
Potentially,
days.
but-
And me. I actually played the demo of this game.
Oh, okay.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So you bringing it up there, I was just like, yeah, no, like for me, I like playing a lot of like just puzzle, like short games and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So something like this, I'm just like, yeah, I could like countlessly spend some hours just doing the fidget spinner by itself.
But what I thought was interesting was that I thought it was going to be like waste as much time until you're ready to proceed. But I was caught by the idea that the game or each of these little moments will progress
Keeps
without,
going.
and things will happen that are timely that you'll have to interact with that to get that sticker. And if you miss it, your chance is gone. You move on, kind of thing. You can go back and replay all of these. There is a little option to go back and like it shows you how many stickers you have for each level. I don't think I'm the kind of person who would go back and try and check all these off in a completionist mode. I think there are some people out there who definitely will.
I wouldn't be able to help myself.
Sorry?
I wouldn't be able to help myself. Every time it moves on, I'm like, how? I guess like what I've already taken away from what I've seen is that you're disincentivized from replaying a level because there's this character moving through, and it's kind of the point of the game.
Life goes on.
Life goes on in a before your eyes kind of way of like,
Yeah.
oh, you blinked, you miss it.
Yeah.
So that's the point of the game. You're gonna get to the end of it and be like, how observant was I, or how good was I at like trying to work out whatever these obscure puzzles are?
I think the draw there is how interesting each of these scenarios can be, and by their own admission, some of them are boring because it is literally waiting to kill time. And I think it definitely gradually eases into the sort of the humor and the silliness of some of the situations. So I don't think it has a great start. I think there are some that are really clever. Like, for instance, this one is literally me playing a mobile game that has a timer on when I can wait for the heart to be replenished. And in that time, I can just spend all my dad's money on the credit card and buy a bunch of upgrades. And one of the rewards is like, you spent too much money kind of thing. So there are some of these vignettes or these moments or these panels that seem really thought out. And there are some that nothing happens. And that's the joke. I will say it's accentuated by a bunch of brilliant, and Josh, just crank it, just royalty-free classical music that makes every scenario just like just wacky.
Amazing.
This is literally what
Oh
we
my
did
god,
on
that was
stream.
like my
Yeah.
Pokemon pack.
And the hand is so like the way that you're driving it is like so.
Oh.
It looks so natural.
More of Daddy's money.
Totally. And yeah, so some of these, there's one where you have to wait for the commercial break to be over. But in doing that, you can realize you can flick through channels and there's mini games attached to all the channels. So this one, I think I could have kept playing until I chose to move on. And it was really interesting and it was kind of a weird way to play it. So I think if you play it, you'll find some of them you'll rank more as interesting than others. But it, as I said, it has that kind of see what's next vibe to it. And when it is done in an art style that I find really pleasing like this, it's hard to stop and go,
That's Snake 2.
Oh,
You couldn't go through the walls.
Josh,
in Snake
scrub just a
1.
little bit further forward if you want to see some Oh, a little bit more. Oh, okay, back a bit.
Oh.
Beat mum and dad
Oh my
score on that
God.
thing. We're talking 33. Yeah, you're impressed.
Yeah.
I am impressed.
Oh no, you've coiled up.
Ah, no, my
Go
mates.
hard right. Oh,
Oh.
are you gonna get away with this?
Yeah, of course. I got to
yeah.
33. Anyway, I think
Only
there's some
just.
incredible imagination on
Yeah.
show with a game like this. I think when I get to the end of it, I don't think like an Untitled Goose Game. I'll be like, God, I need to go back and tick all those off because I think missing those timings of them is frustrating for me to go, damn it. I don't know if I can go back and watch the whole bus stop scene again just to get to that guy's funny hat again. Like, some of that stuff is asking a bit. Maybe I'm that new generation that just doesn't have an
You're a
attention
TikTok kid.
I'm a TikToker. But I think there's just some real beautiful art and imagination on show here. And yeah, a little part of me wanted to stream this game. I thought it might have been fun with an audience, but potentially the real life version of that is just play that with someone over your shoulder. I think in the same vein as like, thank goodness you're here.
Yeah.
Like poke and prod. You need someone there to say like, what happens if you enjoy a little bit of that kind of thing. So yeah, that's while waiting, and very charming, very delightful, but ultimately a waste of time. In a good way.